4-story tall hot pint chandeliers. These were also a gift to Abheuser-Busch from the 1904 World's Fair. You can see how those hops grow on the end of the vine. And then Monday through Friday in this building on the 6th floor, this is the offices of our brewmaster. They take samples of our products from all over the United States at 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. It sounds like a great job. They're bringing a lot of alcohol, a lot of product. But you have to remember, they are tasting samples of the product from start to finish. Some beers they tasted up to 10 times throughout the brewing process. So they are tasting the final product, but they're also tasting the mash, they're tasting the wort, tasting a lot of things. So it's a very sophisticated job. It takes a lot of schooling, and you have to start from the ground up to become a good master. Now this building is very beautiful. Abheuser-Busch really lived that golden age lifestyle. He was an immigrant who came from nothing, made a lot of money quickly, and he knew how to spend it. So we really are the beneficiaries of that now looking back on history. He told his architects, I want my breweries to look like castles. Thinking of those Bavarian castles of his homeland. So all of the original iron work that you see, very ornate, he chose to use iron even though it was more expensive over wood. One, because it was beautiful, two, because it was fireproof. Figured back in the late 1800s, the fires took out a lot of factories. They wanted to prevent that as much as possible. In this building here, originally they wanted to use Edison light bulbs, but if you know anything about Edison light bulbs, they are terrible. They don't light very well. So once they got them in here, it still was very dark and dingy. They scrapped those, chose to do these skylights instead, allow that natural light to come down. So he (1920), Prohibition went into effect with the passage of the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That banned the sale of any alcoholic beverages that were more than 0.5 ABV or greater in the United States. Now, that Budweiser we just drank, 5%. Bud Light, 4%. I think Nightfall's like only one survived, Anheuser-Busch. How did we survive it? We diversified. We made everything we could. Prohibition started in 1920. It ended in 1933 with the passage of the 21st Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which repealed the 18th. We got special permission from the government, from the federal government, to start making Budweiser, so we could be ready for that April 7th, 1933 date when the first wave of Prohibition made beer sales legal in the United States. Where you're currently standing on that date at midnight, thousands of St. Louisans gathered on this street corner, ready for that Budweiser to start flowing again. Now, you remember I told you those Clydesdales were a gift to celebrate the end of Prohibition. About a week before, they sent them by train to Newark, New Jersey. And then on April 7th, 1933 at midnight, those first cases of post-Prohibition Budweiser came off the line. They loaded them in a truck, took them to Lambert Field, now Lambert Airport, and they loaded them on a TWA plane, flew them to Newark, New Jersey. They landed, they met that Clydesdale hitching wagon. They had a police escort through the Holland Tunnel into the island of Manhattan, where they rolled up to, at that time, one of New York's newest buildings, the Empire State Building. Waiting there at the Empire State Building was former New York Governor Al Smith. Al Smith unsuccessfully ran for president in 1928, but he was an instrumental political figure in the repeal of Prohibition. So as a thank you from the Anheuser-Busch company, he received the first case of post-Prohibition Budweiser. The Budweiser Clydesdales stayed on the East Coast for the next 2 years. They went to over 80 cities, shaking hands, kissing babies, visiting dignitaries and politicians, saying thank you for repealing Prohibition. They even stopped by the White House and gave a case of Budweiser to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Now I want to point our attention to the building across the street. That's the oldest building on our property, built in 1868. It's the third and final historic national historic landmark we'll see on this tour. That's the Old Lyons Schoolhouse, named after Nathaniel Lyons, who was a Union general stationed in Missouri during the American Civil War. It was a schoolhouse run by the city of St. Louis. As residents of the neighborhood, the Busch children attended school there. But in 1907, the city outgrew that building. They also thought it's probably not smart having a school right across the street from a brewery, so they put it up for auction and the company bought it. We made that our headquarters. August Busch Sr. went and found his old classroom and made that his office. That was our headquarters until 1982. That's the year we introduced the world to Bud Light. We outgrew that building, moved the corporate offices down the street, and that's been a museum ever since. If you visit us during brewery lights, it's open, and there's over 500 artifacts about our company's history in there. It's a really cool place to explore. All right, at this point now we're going to move down to the Vivo packaging facility. That's the last stop on this tour before we head back to the visitor center. Just be careful, there's some railroad tracks as we walk down there. So everything you see in this case is made and or distributed out of the St. Louis Brewery, except for Kona, which is a product of California and Hawaii, and Space Dust, which is an IPA out of Seattle and California. But everything else, the neutrals we make on site, the cup waters, even Stella Artois, we make here in St. Louis. Built in 1917. It's named Vivo Packaging Facility, named after a non-alcoholic beverage we produced in the 1920s that didn't last very long, less than 10 years. I've heard because it tasted terrible. So it really tastes very well. You know, during Prohibition, people are making beer at home using that baker's yeast. They're also, this is the time of distilleries, speakeasies are rising, moonshine. 1920s, they invented a little thing called a cocktail. Everybody enjoys. So people are drinking alcohol, and they're drinking alcohol that tastes good. Nobody was really interested in a non-alcoholic beer that didn't taste good. So Vivo did not last very long, but its legacy is this building and the Vivo Fox. Some of you noticed him on the corner of the building coming down, as well as he's in the tile work around the perimeter of this room. The Vivo Fox was the mascot for the Vivo beverage. He's modeled after Reynard the Fox, who is a character in Grimm's fairy tales. The same tile work here is original to the building. It comes from the Brookwood Company out of Cincinnati, Ohio. At the time, it was the first and only all-female-led company in the United States. I don't know if it's still that way, but I'm told they are still manufacturing out of Cincinnati. You may be thinking this is a factory. Why is the lobby so beautiful and ornate? Well, 1917, Busch family can see Prohibition on the horizon. It's not a question of if, it's a matter of when. They're trying to figure out how they're going to survive. And remember, initially, you're changing the U.S. Constitution, which is no easy feat. So Prohibition was meant to last forever. So the Busch family, when they built this, they thought, well, if we can't brew anymore, if we go under, we can always convert this building into a hotel. So this would have been the lobby. We're very close to the Mississippi River. We're down here on the riverfront. It would have been a lovely hotel. Thankfully, we didn't have to cross that. Nowadays, this is one of the most technologically advanced manufacturing facilities in the world. We have 5 canning lines, 4 bottling lines, and 1 draft pet line in the basement. Unfortunately, the bottling line is not running today, but we are going to go upstairs to the 7th floor and see it. And I have a video presentation up there as well. Just 2,000 cans a minute. So again, we are producing a lot of product out of the St. Louis Brewery. Somebody asks every now and then, does your products that we produce here go around the world? The answer to that is no. Most of what we produce stays in the Midwest. They drink a lot of beer and alcohol in the Midwest, so we stare an amen on that. All right. So at this point now, because the line is down, again, it is usually down on Fridays and Saturdays for scheduled maintenance. As you can see, there's a lot of moving parts. Something breaks, it's disastrous, so they have to maintain it almost surgical. It's amazing how they maintain it. But I want to show you a video of how it runs. So
Cheers, and welcome to the Vivo Packaging Facility. What you see in front of you is this 6-floor bottling line. This bottling line uses state-of-the-art equipment and makes this the most technologically advanced packaging line in the entire world. Once the beer is produced over at the brew house where you just came from, it's sent right here to the Vivo Packaging bottling line, number 34. The bottles you see on these lines travel from nearby Peevely, Missouri. Empty bottles come into the bottle line in the same boxes that they will leave in and delivered to your favorite pub or retail outlet. Once loaded into the lines, the first step of the process is rinsing. This gets the bottles nice and clean before filling them with the beer you know and love. The rinser flips those bottles upside down and rinses them inside and out with taste-tested water that we used in that brewing process. At the Bevo packaging facility, we can process about 1,300 bottles per minute between our 4 bottling lines. So that you don't have to do the math in your head, we have the capacity to do around 16.1 million bottles per day. From there, the bottles get to do more somersaults. The filler flips the bottles right side up and fills them with the beer we're packing that day. And before you can even blink, those bottles are capped within 1/10 of a second. This ensures that that beer's natural carbonation doesn't escape from that bottle. Then go on a journey and come to our pasteurizer for the hottest shower you've ever seen. It's about 140 degrees. Heating up those bottles extends the shelf life of our beer without the need to be refrigerated. Our shelf life for bottles and cans are just around 180 days. Once the bottles are through the pasteurizer, they are going to mosey on down and cool down on our lazy river. That's going to allow those bottles to dry and get to room temperature. Next, this is where our bottles get their labels. Our labeler puts the label on the front, the back, and the neck of the bottle. Finally get to packaging. The bottles are picked up in a bowling pin-like fashion as a 24-pack and put into those boxes. Boxes are then sealed shut, coated, and sent down to our warehouse floor. Once our beer is out the door, it's then shipped out to wholesalers all across the country for people like you to enjoy. There's 65,000 people who bring our beer to life. Those 65,000 people are dedicated and committed to a beer that's brewed for creating enduring memories with friends and family.
Then in the 1930s, we introduced steel cans. The 1960s, we introduced aluminum cans. And we're always looking for that next technological advance to make this process even more efficient, more economic, and just better overall. I did want to make one comment about the pasteurization. So we associate pasteurization mostly with milk products today. But Anheuser-Busch saw it back in the day and started using it in Budweiser about 10 years before it became a standard in the dairy industry. That was one of the ways that he was able to make Budweiser a national brand, because now he could ship Budweiser without refrigeration, without ice, and he could keep it at room temperature, and also it had extended its shelf life to 180 days, which is around what our shelf life today is as well. So this is going to be the end of the tour. I'm going to leave you all with a gift. Everyone 21 years of age and older. I want to give you a bottle, or excuse me, today it's a can of beer that has been packaged in this facility in the last 24 hours. So it is going to be one of the freshest beers that you're ever going to drink. It is room temperature because it just came out of that pasteurization, so please don't drink it now. I had one guy shotgun at one time and it terrified me, so please don't do that. We have to take stairs to go down, don't do it. But today you picked a good day, because today it's a can of Michelob Ultra. Michelob fans, all right. It's better than the NA days. I'm like, we got Bud Zero, and everybody's like, oh, okay, thank you. So I'm gonna give everybody 21 years of age and older a can of that. Then we're gonna make our way downstairs, back to those trolleys that were waiting out by the door, go up to the visitor center, have our final sample there. All right, so follow me.
I've never even heard of that drink, Natural Light. You can get some beer stocks, quite few different types. You can buy some beer here. I think they sold them in $6, looks like. I'm gonna get a vest that says Budweiser onto the heavens. Budweiser, dude. Not for $100, no, thank you. I think I own exactly the same vest, or very similar. But I know I didn't pay $100 for mine. It's on sale actually, only because it says Budweiser. That would be something good to wear to work.